Council of Nicaea, and the Essene manuscripts. Roman Emperor Constantine ordered his Christian bishops to organize the first conference in coordination with the Church of Rome, to enact a council to review the secretly stolen Essene manuscripts. The First Council of Nicaea is the first recorded worldwide council of the Christian Church in 325 AD, which took place in Turkey and was presided over by the Emperor Constantine. History would tell us that the purpose of the Council of Nicaea was to create statements and canons of doctrinal belief with the intent to define what would become fundamental Christian beliefs, establishing the Nicene Creed. Over many hundreds of years, these sacred manuscripts from Yeshua's team were further translated, studied, and then falsified, edited, and omitted from revealing important spiritual concepts, as set forth by the decisions made by the powers behind the Council of Nicaea and the draconian leadership that had infiltrated the Church of Rome. However, this council set into motion the ongoing basis for the dogma that would be used for human torture and blood sacrifice made in the name of God. Some of the falsified accounts and twisted truths were actually sourced from the translations made from the holographic discs and would later be recopied and written into several manuscripts and into several different languages. The oldest version of this copy from the Nicene timeline is the Codex Vaticanus, which is the oldest Greek manuscript of the New Testament that has been in the Vatican libraries since the 15th century. Those manuscripts would eventually form the books that would later become the canonized Bible. The Bible would then be used for the political motivations of governments and organized religion to continue to enforce these partial truths and patriarchal beliefs set forth by the Anunnaki false gods worldwide, under the guise of uniting the Christian churches through the written doctrine ordained by God. Thus, the original content of the earliest translations of the handwritten manuscripts and assortment of early Bibles were partially taken from the stolen Essene manuscripts that were translated directly by Yeshua. As a result of the ongoing genocidal agendas, the remaining Essene groups went underground, and this knowledge was hidden and continued to be passed on in secret, such as to the Cathar sects. Some of those remaining records are within the contents found in the Nag Hammadi, to which the public has only been given limited access to partial information. The manuscripts that were in possession of the church were embellished with an assortment of falsities, biases, and ongoing edits as transmitted to the human scribes by the Anunnaki hybrid fallen angelic entities, primarily from the Jehovian Collective. The Jehovian Collective are the engineers of the crucifixion implants and help to design the Bible with paltering techniques that would fit in with the narrative of their violent religion based on blood sacrifice of the Christos. There have been inexpressible amounts of edits, omissions, and revisions made from the translations of these original manuscripts that have been repeatedly copied from Hebrew, Aramaic, Latin, and Greek into an assortment of languages and varied interpretations. Bible books and church doctrines were frequently being commissioned by an assortment of Christian bishops, priests, kings, and rulers throughout the ages since the Yeshua Christos mission, each translation being influenced and adopted to fit with their own personal beliefs, prejudices, and one-sided interests reflected within the demographics, language, and the culture active during that particular time. Finally, after the many long years of murderous crusades and inquisitions, King James commissioned a team of scholars to work on the English translation of the Christian Bible for the Church of England in 1604, establishing the hierarchical form of power within the church governance in the process. However, this is what enabled the common people to have access to read a Bible themselves. Previously, the only way to access the contents of the Bible was through a church official, who would interpret the meaning to his illiterate congregation. Further, this translation continued the Church of Rome's influence in enforcing the salvationistic beliefs of blood sacrifice through Christ's crucifixion as required for the cleansing of the sins of humanity, and fulfilling this purpose as being the reason behind the existence of Christianity. By the first half of the 18th century, the authorized version of the King James Bible had become effectively unchallenged as the English translation used in Anglican and English Protestant churches. At the beginning of the 19th century, this version of the Bible became the most widely printed book in history. Today, there are hundreds of versions of the Bible in the English language and translations into over 2,000 languages, in which every individual and congregation has their personal beliefs, in which their revised Bible translation is the most accurate and truthful, meaning words they consider to be directly from God. Thus, overall, the written text in the Bible contains not only coding from the pure frequency of the original holographic disc, but also contains an extremely clever mixture of truths used to tell lies in order to make the comprehension of the actual content as confusing as possible in the interpretation made by the reader or worshiper. The Bible is filled with an assortment of paltering tactics, truths, and lies, violence, and cognitive dissonance. Newer versions have made attempts to make the content more comprehensible to current standards, but this information still contains many distorted belief systems that source directly from anti-human influences that seek to enslave humanity. The Jehovah's Anunnaki edited and twisted information stolen from the original founder records that would be presented as fear-based storylines loosely interpreted from actual events describing the negative alien technological invasion on the earth. Classical Bible references in the Old Testament describe actual technological events in previous history used to terrorize humanity. These are presented under the premise that these destructive and horrifying events happened as the result of the wrath of God made against the sinners of the earth. The Bible is filled with shallow glimpses of the true angelic human records of the law of one that have been purposely twisted and inverted to generate negative consciousness overlays of fear, guilt, and shame, and to intentionally subjugate humanity to believe they are at the mercy of a vengeful God. Many humans connect to the Bible's stories from the deep unconscious memories of these tragic events that occurred in hidden human history or during simultaneous lifetimes. These particular written words describe cellular memories that the human soul remembers and connects to in those previous timelines, such as the subconscious knowledge that our earth has suffered from a tragic cataclysm, flood, and subsequent invasion of the original advanced human culture. The vengeful God represented in violent religions is the mask of an alien impostor that uses horrifying images of fire, brimstone, and punishment, along with mentally rigid dogma to maintain strict control over the earth population. If religious control does not work, the prison wardens can guide you straight into the box of atheistic and scientific dogma. The falsified texts of the negative alien influence religions have programmed many people to be judgmental and condemning of their brothers and sisters, engaging in circular debates over what religion or Bible is the best representation of God. Organized religion, as well as the scientific dogmas, have been intentionally weaponized to mind control humanity, to spiritually oppress humanity, into crucifying their own inner Christ in the name of a false father alien God or God as a delusion.